May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion on approval of the minutes.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Pritchett, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo. Mayor Folger.
Aye, so moved. So we're going to get into the resolutions, but first I'd like to welcome Principal C, Superintendent Rafferty, our Board of Education President Diane Blair, our Board of Education Secretary Marie Reynolds, and I saw Rob Walker here earlier today, so I'd like to say him as well. If I missed somebody, I am sincerely, more importantly, and most importantly, I'd like to welcome Maureen Barrett. Thank you. What I'd like to do right now is may I have a motion for Resolution 19R-188.
Proclamation of commendation to the team Thalassa. It's free. Sorry.
Can someone read this into the record before?
Please.
All right, so strap in. Proclamation of commendation to Team Thalassa. Whereas at the beginning of June, Harrington Middle School's Sea Perch underwater robotics team reached the top of the mountain competition. One of the Harrington teams, Team Thalassa, was named the overall national champion at the 2019 Sea Perch Challenge at the University of Maryland, besting dozens of other middle school and high school teams from across the country. Harrington's team has become a fixture at the Sea Perch National Competition for the past 6 years. Sea Perch is an underwater robotics program where students build a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, designed to complete a challenge. Teams compete in regional events to try to qualify for the National Sea Perch Challenge held in late spring each year. Whereas Harrington's Sea Perch's first trip to the Nationals came in 2014 when the team competed at the University of Southern Mississippi. Since then, the team has been back every year and has boosted its finish with each passing season. As the team's performance has improved, expectations have increased. Whereas this year's Sea Perch teams were tasked with a challenge modeled after a real-life event. In 2018, members of a football team in Thailand were rescued after being trapped in a cave for more than 2 weeks. The Sea Perch Challenge involved using the ROV to light a beacon and then have that vehicle transport provisions and supplies through a cave. Whereas Team Thalassa realized the sensor needed to switch the ROV's beacon light on wasn't working. Just a few hours before competition, the team needed to replace the sensor and rebuild its lighting mechanism. The team succeeded and would go on to place first in both the mission course and obstacle course. Whereas nearly 3 years after Team Thalassa came home with the national championship trophy, the school community is still buzzing about that achievement. The marquee sign outside of Harrington still declares the school as the home of the national champion Sea Perch team. Inside the building, a permanent display was unveiled just outside of the classroom of Harriet STEM teacher and Sea Perch head coach Maureen Barrett last Tuesday. In a special ceremony, Harrington Principal Ryan C. unveiled a sign in the school hallway in honor of the 2019 National Championship. 7 of the 10 members of Team Thalassa were on hand for the official unveiling. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor, Township Council, and Township Manager of the Township of Mount Laurel, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, on behalf of all its citizenry, do hereby commend Team Thalassa on their outstanding performance and congratulate the national champs. May I have a motion for Resolution 19R-188?
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Pritchett. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo. Aye. Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Folger.
Aye, so moved. Congratulations to you.
Come on up, Pete.
Assistant Coach Ashman. I apologize.
That's okay.
Come on. Here, Coach Ashman. Just because I messed up doesn't mean everything. Congratulations. 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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Here, who wants to hold the proclamation?
CEO.
Let's put it in the middle. All right?
Go ahead and the CEO. Go ahead.
See, yeah, get down here. Executive officer. Unless you're gonna delegate.
Oh, no, that's okay, I don't want to disturb anything. That's fine.
No, I'll sign, that. All right. Congratulations, guys, national champions. You'll have that for the rest of your life.
So Team Talassa, a lot of this stuff gets boring after this. If you want to leave, have at it. Yeah, yeah, homework, go ahead, clear out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, folks. Resolution 19R-189.
National Friends of the Library Week.
Again, we'll read this into the record. Whereas Friends of the Mount Laurel Library raised money that enables our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, museum passes, and new library services throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning, and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. Whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print, electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. Whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library set an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Laurel Township Council proclaims October 20th through the 26th, 2019 as Friends of the Libraries Week in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and urges everyone to come join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community so much better. May I have a motion for Resolution 19R-189?
I'll make a motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Pritchett, second by Councilman Stegler. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved.
I'm just reminding everyone to just-
Move to the right a little bit. Congratulations, thank you for
Resolution 19R-190.
Resolution authorizing the refund or cancellation of property taxes block 1602, block 33.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Pritchett. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo. Aye. Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. May I, Resolution 19R-191.
Resolution authorizing the refund or cancellation of property taxes block 1504, lot 38. This is the correction from last meeting.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-192.
Resolution authorizing the refund or cancellation of property taxes block 1512, lot 2.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-193.
Mount Laurel Township Resolution authorizing release of performance guarantee for Diocese of Trenton Block 303, Lot 3, SP 7223A.
May I have a motion for 19R-193?
I'll move to approve 19R-193.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Edelson, second by Councilman Staglitt. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-194.
Anticipation of special item of revenue in the 2019 local municipal budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159.
So, with this one, do you want to explain to the folks what we're?
Sure, this is grant money that we received for bulletproof vests, sorry, just have to look for that one. $7,500 we received.
Okay.
Bulletproof or bullet resistant?
Same thing.
May I have a motion for 19R-194?
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Pritchett, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-195.
Closeout and reimbursement for Burlington County Parks Grant.
May I have a motion for 19R-195?
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Staglitt. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-196.
Approving NJ DOT change order number 5, 2017 road program contract 2017-3.
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-197.
Resolution authorizing cancellation of outstanding checks. This is required once a year for the auditors.
May I have a motion?
I'll move to approve 19R-197.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Edelson, second by Councilman Staglitt. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-198.
Resolution establishing block party regulations.
So, get into this a little bit because we've had a lot of block parties and, that's a really great way to foster the sense of community. So this is something that the JIF, our insurance company, is asking us to put forward so that the town can be held harmless. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
May I have a resolution for 19R-198? I'm sorry, may I have a motion for 19R-198?
I'll make a motion.
May I have a second?
Can we open that back door since it's locked? I just want to make sure everybody can get in. Thank you.
I'll second.
Second. Motion by Deputy Mayor Bobo, second by Councilman Staglitt. May I have a roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-199.
Resolution authorizing the placing of liens against certain properties per Chapter 65 of the Code of the Township of Mount Laurel.
May I have a motion for 19R-199?
I'll move to approve 19R-199.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Edelson, second by Deputy Mayor Bobo. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo.
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. Resolution 19R-200.
Authorizing a place-to-place transfer of alcohol beverage control consumption license 0324-33-023-003. This is, Don Pablo's is gonna be having a patio area, so they have to license the patio area, so nobody's actually physically moving on the border.
Thank you, Margaret.
Obviously.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Pritchett, second by Councilman Edelson. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Pritchett.
Aye.
Councilman Edelson.
Aye.
Councilman Staglitt.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bobo. Mayor Coulter.
Aye, so moved. We're gonna move into new business now. Margaret?
Sure, in everybody's packet was a social media policy. This did appear on, the governor's best practice list. If towns have a social media policy for employees and for town councils, this was a draft. I wanted to see if council had any changes, suggestions before it went for first reading, at the next council meeting.
I do have a recommendation. If we could, where it says the design of the site, original graphics, and original content are all copyrighted by the township, may not be re-engineered, distributed, modified. If we can add something about flyers, about events, or announcements, because those, for that's the sole purpose of a flyer announcement is to hopefully share it as much as possible. So I don't know if we can maybe add something like that so we can
So we could,
share a little bit.
I forgot George needed to say flyers and announcements can be shared, on social media as long as they're not altered from the way the township designed.
What about when the MUA does a mail stuff for a flyer? Should that be part of this ordinance? That we need to approve that as well?
What does MUA do?
I'm sorry?
They just mail.
The MUA in their, when they send out their water bills. Anybody having an event, whether it's school, leagues, whatever, they will do a stuffer in the bill. So that when you open the bill, you look at it, and hopefully you look at the second page, and it tells you where to be at Halloween, or where to go for this event, any other event. Should that be within,
Not within the social media policy.
So
Making
social
sure.
media just covers like Twitter, Facebook, anything on the internet. Instagram, I'm trying to think of all, Snapchat, yeah. So this would, all employees would be provided this also. So if council has any other changes, just let me know, or otherwise, if you're okay, I'll schedule it for first reading at the next council meeting.
I'm okay.
At this point, we're gonna move into the, is there anything else with social media? No? Okay. At this point, we're gonna move into the public participation part. Please feel free to come up to the microphone, address council. Please sign your name, your address. I'm going to ask if somebody has said something that, please add on to it, don't repeat it. The microphone's yours.
My name is George Brill. I live at 127A Chaucer Road, Mount Laurel. I've recently been informed that our code enforcement officer, Mr. Carp, has retired. And I would inquire as to who is the new code enforcement officer in Mount Laurel.
He just started. His name's Andre, and he is an experienced zoning officer. He comes highly recommended from Toms River. He moved recently to the area. He has multiple years of experience, and he just started on September 30th.
Because I would like to talk to him.
Sure.
As you know, there's serious problems in my neighborhood, and they run unabated, and I would like to talk to the zoning officer and perhaps have him come down and go through the neighborhood with me and see what needs to be done.
If you leave your number with Jerry Masha, our Municipal Services Director, right in the back, he'll make sure that Andre and Chris Ridings, who's also been helping the zoning officer with violations, they'll come out, meet with you, and go through the neighborhood with you.
Okay,
Do you know who Jerry is in the back of it? Okay.
Jerry, come on.
Hi, my name's Ed Cohen, 15 Winterberry Court, Mount Laurel. I'm talking tonight about the billboard proposal. I guess my first question is, I come to a bunch of meetings, and the first I heard about it was at Catalyst when they made their presentation. And had that been mentioned in town council meetings prior to that?
There was an entire redevelopment application that came before this board and the planning board.
Okay, so most people here come to learn about what's happening in Mount Laurel. And I never heard that the billboards or plans to move the EMS station, but that was discussed openly in the town council prior to the Catalyst discussion.
The redevelopment plan was specifically as to the details of it. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, there's more than just, I think I was here one of the times when it said we approved the redevelopment plan, but I don't recall discussion of the EMT station was being moved and EMS station.
Did you sit through the presentation that was
No,
delivered?
no, I wasn't here that day, but that was the first, I heard about it after, I missed that meeting and I heard about it and that was just kind of caught me off guard. So has that been discussed? I mean, you're saying it has. So people in the town knew that it was happening prior to the Catalyst.
I don't know how engaged the people of the town are on specific issues, but it was discussed.
Okay, because Mayor Fulcher, tonight, for instance, you went and you described a few of the resolutions that were being done. You clarified what those were being, and I think I was in a meeting where this thing kind of went through without, you clarifying, hey, this is about moving the EMS station and doing the billboards.
There was a video presentation previous to our, our vote on it. It was what?
There was a public, and it was
And
referenced
everybody
to
was
the planning
publicly
board, and the
noticed.
planning board has a public open session to comment on any application. And their agendas are posted on the website, just,
And anybody living within 200 feet get noticed.
Okay, I just feel, my impression anyhow, is if I come to the town council meetings, I should kind of know what's going on. If I attend kind of regularly, I would know what's going on generally in town.
But that's why we did the video presentation.
Okay, well, let's talk about the billboard, because it's probably, I think, Mount Laurel has laws against putting, or I don't know what, ordinances against putting up billboards. I think that's the right thing, because they're ugly and they reduce property values. Many towns have created active campaigns to remove the billboards, because like Louisville removed their billboards and saw their property values increase, because they're a blight on the community. I know there's this thing, hey, these aren't billboards, they're monuments. I've never seen a billboard and go, hey, let's put some structure around it, and now it's a monument, and that's the kind of thing I want to see in Mount Laurel. So the idea that it's a monument, and that's something we want versus a billboard just doesn't make any sense to me. The design of these things, I don't know, it looks, to me, it reminds me of Medusa. So all these snakes coming out of their head. It seems that the only appeal of all those things is to point to the billboard. It's not an attractive device. It seems like it's designed specifically to make the billboard company get a little more attention to their billboard. Each billboard, I read, uses about much electricity to power 30 houses. And since there are 6 billboards, 30 houses, 180 houses, it's just this, they're not green in any way whatsoever. I understand that one of the billboards at least has a water feature on it. To me, I'm going to be driving by that and going, oh, this is Mount Laurel, the town that wastes energy and water. And it's, okay. So the question is, I understand there's financial considerations for them in this thing. So the question to me, is Mount Laurel getting a good deal for this blight that I think we're bringing on our town? So what is the financial gain that Mount Laurel gets from this?
The town's getting a new EMS building,
That Mount Laurel will own?
yes,
Okay.
and the town's getting significant rent from the other location.
Okay, so significant, and what number is that?
Property.
$3 million.
$3 million over the 30 years? Okay. And you're estimating that the EMS building is worth $6 million?
5 or 6.
5 or 6,
Well,
okay.
you got the land cost in there as
I'm sorry?
well. The land cost is in there as well.
And I think, if you don't mind me saying, that, you know, it's a little misleading just to say that it's just these 3 billboards and this was our idea to build. I mean, this really stems from the fact that the state is telling us we have to build a new EMS building. Okay, so when it's not just, yeah, we get, you know, annually money for this and a new EMS building, like it's a gift to us. One way or another, we would have to build that EMS building, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, not, or
Or move for a
Or
diversion.
do a diversion, and it would be a significant tax increase to the residents.
So it's not necessarily like, you know, oh yeah, this is some of these added bonuses that we get a new EMS building. I mean, we cannot mention one without the other, because, you know, for at least for speaking on my behalf, that's the driving reason why I supported this. Because we have to, no matter what, if we said no to these 3 signs, we have to build that EMS building or figure out a way financially to afford a diversion, and I just don't see that happening. So that's, you know, that's a really key component that you can't just gloss over and say, oh, we get a new EMS building. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, you know, that's a really big part of this.
Okay, I understand. I mean, so it's 6 signs. I mean, it's 3 locations, but 6 signs, right? I mean, I don't
Well,
want to
2 signs, yeah. 2 signs.
2 signs on
Yeah.
each location.
And I believe the EMS station is solar.
Solar
power.
I mean, I understand the EMS station is, Meredith was supplied lots of information and, you know, it's energy efficient, but that never makes up for probably, you know, maybe the EMS uses 30 times. These 6 boards are gonna like decimate any energy savings you're getting there. So, I mean, if you're talking about a town that's, you know, trying to be greener, this is not a way to do that.
Well, then also include the trees that are being planted with it as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And does it include the trees that are being ripped down to
It's
put?
actually a
Yeah.
1-for-1.
One-for-one replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I mean,
One-for-one replacement, and they're also gonna, donate 100 trees, that the state has required us to plant at another location.
I mean, I don't think anybody would look at this and say, this is a good green thing for Mount Laurel. I mean,
So we have to make lemons out of lemonade. What's happened is the state has almost held a gun to our head and said, you know, you cannot have your facility on Church Road. It has to be moved. So what we decided to do was to move to a blighted part of the town, which is that 73 corridor, where this new EMS building is going to go. It's right across from Rogers Walk. It's currently right now, it's a dilapidated, unused field. So we'll be able to have a state-of-the-art EMS facility at this field. And consequently, we'll also be able to drive revenue through the advertisements for the town. And oh, by the way, if this is gonna be on 38, 73, and 295, if we did not basically try to make this lemonade, we would have been in trouble because Morristown could have got it. Evesham could have got it. Maple Shade could have got it. And you still would have done this and we would have been out an EMS building.
And the revenue. So the next call was going to be to our neighboring towns. So take the location at the end of Mid-Atlantic here. Their next call was to Morristown. 100 yards down the road, there'd be a monument sign for Morristown.
Yeah,
Right.
or you could have made that call to Morristown and say, hey, you want to both agree that we're not going to put some blighted thing on here, and
Well,
then
Morristown's not going to agree to build us our EMS building. That's the underlying issue.
And the
that we
same on
have to build.
73, the next town down where they would
It's exactly,
propose something is in Marlton. So
So,
that's
I mean,
that's
how are you
exactly what
sure?
happened in Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill, the mayor came out and said, I don't want this. And they went to Marlton and they went to Pennsauken, and they're right on both of those borders. And
we would have been seeing anyway.
Marlton and Pennsauken will benefit financially from the deal, and Cherry Hill will still have the money and so on.
So we would have been out an EMS building,
Out revenue.
out revenue, and we would have had to raise taxes. It's not
And we
acceptable.
would have still been looking at monuments.
And you would still have the same thing. Once again, we're making lemonade out of lemons. You know, all the choices that we have to make up here aren't really that easy. So when we can basically provide an EMS, state-of-the-art EMS building for our constituency, we have to take advantage of that situation.
Why was there only one bidder on this? I mean, it seemed like they played you and said, hey, we'll bid against different towns and play different towns off each other. Why don't you contact other sign companies and say, let's play them off each other and try to get a better deal?
They came to the township with the offer. I don't know of any other vendors that are out there doing this type of work. There's certainly, I did talk to other billboard companies. But nobody wants to see a rectangle on a stick. That's not what the township had in its vision. So this company comes in, they do, obviously there's gonna be water features here. They're bringing in all kinds of floral arrangements around it. They've guaranteed, through maintenance bonds, that these things will always look nice. So, as a town, the town gets to choose who wants for its redevelopment.
Okay, and then, so I can do it, but I guess, I'm not.
I really do, I mean, I have to say publicly, I mean, I really do, like, appreciate your concern for this. I don't think any one of us up here, I mean, I remember the meeting we had about it, and we raised the same questions, we were discussing the same exact thing, so, and we're not trying to just say like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, but like, how the mayor put it is honestly the best way. And look, you guys know already, from my tenure of being on council, if I just didn't agree with something, you're the first person to say it. But you have to make lemonade out of these lemons, and it's, to discuss this entire conversation without mentioning the fact that the state is putting this heavy burden on us, it'd be misleading. And it's one of the driving, if not the driving reason why I supported this.
Yeah, maybe. But didn't you, I mean, you just, this $6 million thing, didn't you just recently approve a bond for $7 million? Right, so you could have funded it a very similar way.
It would have raised taxes, and there would have been no revenue coming in from.
Yeah, and no blights on Mount Laurel. I mean, I guess when I drive by, when I drive up 295, and I get the town that has all the refinery there, and I look at it and I go, that's not a place I want to live, right? I drive by it.
Ed, right down the block from 38 and Mid-Atlantic is 295 and 38. Have you tried to get through there on any weeknight with all the cars sitting there in traffic? We've gone after the state to try and redo that interchange. We're 10, 15 years away from that, maybe. We paid an extra gas tax, 26 cents, to the state to
Mount
help,
Laurel only got $260,000.
to help our roads. We're about to get 2 more developments with another 1,000 houses. You know what Creek Road and 295 and 38 and 295 are going to look like within the next 3 years? With those cars sitting there in traffic?
And so they can be entertained by the sign now? I mean, I'm not sure what the
If
sign
there's
is.
gridlock, they
Yeah.
They won't see it, right? They're sitting there in traffic. All those cars giving us all the exhaust. That's not green either.
Okay, I mean, I don't understand why that's relevant to the sign.
You're saying green, you're saying environment. You have cars sitting there in traffic.
We're explaining
You're
why
not
the state
against it?
seems to be.
You're not against that?
And
I
honestly,
mean, I'm against a lot of different things that aren't green, but I mean, I don't see why that's relevant to this particular.
I'm sitting there. Every night, I come home out of Burlington. I sit on Creek and 295 for a good 10 minutes, just to get up around that loop, and then another 10 minutes trying to get down Masonville Road now. We're about to build another 1,000 houses here on that side of town.
Yeah.
Traffic is gonna, and you're not concerned about the exhaust from all those cars?
I am.
I'm following
I'm not
past-
sure why the signs help that in any way.
They don't. I'm giving you a green comparison. You're making one comparison about using energy to light up a sign. We're using energy for car sitting in traffic. You don't see the simile? I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean,
I'm sorry.
I see problems with our cars, but
Mhm.
that's, I don't see how the two issues are related.
We agree to disagree.
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Harriet Insler, and I
Sometimes
live
cars
at
cut off on
4
cars.
River Road Tour.
She did, she's quick.
I'm sorry. The reason I jumped up is because this is another question different than what Mr. Cohen spoke about regarding the billboards. Does this council or the planning board have any input as to what will be on those billboards? The reason I'm asking
Yes.
is some of them are incredibly distracting. I am in Voorhees a couple of times a week, and there's a billboard right on Evesham and Cooper, which probably means nothing to you because you live over here. There's flashing lights around it. I have seen drivers almost stop short to look at what's on this. I find it a real concern. I have a granddaughter who's going to be driving soon, so that adds to my terrifying of these billboards. will you be able to have some input to make sure that there's not lights flashing or colors changing? Is there any way for that to be done?
Yes,
Okay.
they only will show static pictures, so they'll change, but they'll be static, so you won't have that.
You're not gonna have lights going around them flashing,
No fireworks.
colors changing? Okay, all right.
And, I'm sorry.
Go.
The technology also was one of the questions we asked the company, was let's say it gets dark outside, there's a storm, and you don't want this like bright like meteor in your face blinding and stuff.
Right.
The technology, how it works is that it will readjust the outside light as well. Okay, so you're not gonna have, let's say, it's a thunderstorm and it's just as bright as it would be if it's, in the middle. So it is a really smart technology in that regard as well.
Okay.
So it helps with vision as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm just safety of everybody is very important. Thank
Absolutely.
you. I'm sorry,
Brian Sharp, 19 Biddle Way. I'm actually going to stay on the billboards. It wasn't originally what I was going to talk about today, but it seems to be a hot topic. My issue, or my question is more around the communication. It seems like, this is a situation where the people of the town didn't really seem to have a lot of communication coming from the council. Maybe your new social media plan will get more information out to the people. But it just seems like the people of our town weren't really informed about this going on, and there's a lot of questions. Now, I know I was at the presentation. I asked you my questions at the presentation about who's going to pay for electricity, upkeep of the plants, and all that stuff. I thought you did a great job answering that, but that's to me, that's to this room. How do we get the word out to the other 40,000 people in our town?
I don't think it just pertains to this issue.
It
I
doesn't.
think it,
Yeah, we
but
have.
unfortunately, it's hard to get people engaged.
Right.
Right? So if you have a magic wand or an idea, we are all ears, Brian.
No, I just, yeah.
Brian, you wanna get people here? Raise
I
taxes.
tried. Well, you guys tried, you did that actually, you raised taxes. You didn't get that many.
And how many people were here, Brian? How many people were here?
Right. But do a referendum, try and change our.
You're not wrong, Brian. I mean, we should be a little bit more proactive in this, like, and I think sometimes we vote and we don't necessarily also have the opportunity to be forthright and say like, oh, here's X, Y, and Z, maybe we should be doing a better job with that.
Speak for yourself. I mean, I'm as forthright as we can be. Like,
Well, I'm saying for like in an issue like this, being a little proactive in anticipating that a lot of people, there might be misinformation out there, and maybe doing, trying as hard as possible to explain it even further. But like the deputy mayor said, like, good luck trying to get everybody to know exactly what's going on. Now, I will say this will help. The sign does help with dissemination of what's going on in our township as well. These signs do. So it's not, that will help to a certain degree. I mean, about when our council meetings are, or there's events or anything like that. So it does help in disseminating information too.
All right, what about a letter from the council in the Sun paper saying, these are some of the big items that are coming up? Because I would think that this is a big item that should have been.
We do press releases as much as we can. Sometimes when we send them to the papers, they don't pick them up. And honestly, it's expensive to advertise in the newspaper.
Could you do it like as a
If
letter to
we
the
were to
editor?
write a letter and explain, and ask them to publish it, it'd probably be $1,000 for us
Brian,
to put a letter.
But what about
the
this?
Sun reporters.
I know, I'll talk to them afterwards, but why not?
I've
I
written
guess
letters to
opinion.
the editor, they don't get published.
I have
Often.
too. I would think that if you sign it,
Actually,
you're
it was
Yes.
official.
I do.
photo.
I have.
Burlington, this was in the Burlington County.
Yeah, I was interviewed by.
It was after the
No.
meeting.
But that was before the planning board meeting, which had a public hearing and.
During the redevelopment process, I was interviewed by, I think the Sun and the.
Right, but that was after the presentation.
And all the neighbors would know this
During the
too.
redevelopment.
I don't know, I just think that we, as a township, we need to get better at making sure
We
everybody
agree.
knows what's going on.
We agree.
I'll do my part, but, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm Jean Anderson. I live at 18 Woodbury Court. And I'd like to talk about location of EMS station. I'd like to know how
Can
that
I just
location.
Could you-
right into
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
mic? Thank you.
I would like to know how the new location of the EMS station was,
It was selected
who
by
had input?
our deputy chief and our EMS chief. We met with, myself, the attorney, and Catalyst to help select the best location for the residents.
And what about input from the EMTs who actually are the ones who know where the calls are coming
That's
from,
the
how long
EMS,
it takes to
that's
get
the
in?
EMS chief and the deputy EMS
And
chief.
what about the fire department? Because they're just as involved in this.
Well, they don't,
Yes, they are at
Dispatch
many,
from-
many calls.
they don't dispatch from our location, from an EMS, they have their own houses.
Yeah, but they have an opinion on this, on the location of this station, and they should have input.
Um,
And I know they have had some negative input.
The fire
Right.
department is not under the umbrella of the township. They're their own fire district. And I know that Meredith meets regularly with the chief and as do our police chief and all of our first responders meet very regularly and talk about any issues that are pertinent
I just
to
wonder
responding
how
to the
much-
I mean, I actually had a meeting this morning with the fire chief, who told me that they're actually excited about the new building and support it. So I guess you'd have to be more specific on who exactly said they don't support the location.
Well, I mean, I wasn't at the meeting, so I have some secondhand information.
Yeah, I mean, that, I had a meeting this morning with the fire, with Chief Calucci.
But I would just like to know how, having this huge gap in the middle of town with no coverage is okay. I mean, what about responses to Holiday Village? I know for a fact that there's a tremendous number of calls in Holiday Village. How long is it going to be?
And our EMS
Because
chief-
369 is nowhere near any of that.
Our EMS chief's here right now, he's more than welcome, Chief Stringfellow, if you could get up and explain exactly, the misconception sometimes the public has that Holiday Village and Holiday Village East response comes from the church location, that it actually comes from the Masonville location.
Well, it comes from both.
The chief can address your, the chief, if you want, the chief can address your concern, he has data.
Joseph Stringfellow, I'm the EMS chief for Mount Laurel. Just to give it a quick overview of how response times work. Response times were first developed in 1970 as a way to get response out to cardiac arrests. The goal was to be able to get a first responder there within 5 minutes. From that, developed the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association standard for a 5-minute response to calls. NFPA only guides the fire department. It doesn't apply to any other agencies there. Now this, mind you, this is from 1970, so things have changed drastically in those years. Specifically, more training of people with CPR, AED placement, AEDs in police cars, more things like that. So the goal now is we're not looking at a 5-minute response time. The response time, I guess the window that we look at is 8 minutes, which is 8 minutes 59 seconds for it. But along with that, as the industry standards have changed, we also look at a modified response system. So, for example, the Department of Health for the state of New Jersey, for EMS, looks at how can we improve responder safety. The number one cause of death for emergency medical services is motor vehicle accidents. That's where we get killed. Going to the hospital, responding to calls. So there are some calls where we respond, no lights and sirens to. It's, we base it off the report we receive from Central when they call 911. It's a non-lights and siren response for it. An example may be a call where we're being sent to where we're told we're level 1 stage until police secure the area. It doesn't make sense to drive lights and sirens, jeopardize us, jeopardize the driving public when we have to park away until police secure the scene. A lot of times when we start to get into the evening or overnight, we don't respond with lights or sirens at all. Because, again, all we're doing is creating more danger for it. As we looked at trying to secure a location, we looked at all our call volume, where we were at. You can't necessarily say this part of town gets serviced by one ambulance all the time. So, for example, Holiday Village East, why 368 is located on Church Street, they probably only handle, at best, I would say 50% of the calls in that area. And of that percentage of calls in there, doesn't mean they're coming from 368. So that ambulance that responds there may be responding from JFK Cherry Hill because they just cleared the hospital from another call. They're going to respond there if no other units available. So there's dynamic staging as these units are kind of moving around. You know, we may be pulling 368 to 369 because we have training or, you know, we're doing something with the vehicles and the crew there. They're still responding back across town. We have a very aggressive partnership with the police and the fire department. So for any calls such as a cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest, unconscious person, the fire department sent on all those calls with us for it because we're looking at making sure we have responders there in a very quick period of time for it. So we add that unit to it. Anytime all three of our units are on calls and we have to go to what would be a second or a third rig dispatch, because during the day we have 3 staffed ambulances for it. Anytime all units run calls, the fire department's added to that call on the dispatch for it. So they would dispatch our second, third rig, or fourth rig, and the fire department for it. So that we have a responder going to that call. The only time that's not the case is if it's at a medical facility, we're not going to add the fire department to the call because there's already staff at the facility that's trained, and we don't want to tie that fire department resource up sitting there waiting for that next ambulance to get there. We have very aggressive mutual aid policies with all the surrounding departments. So Evesham is our response partner in Medford on the far side, the Church Road side. We have Moorestown that usually is our main response area on the opposite side. We just went through the process of readjusting all of our grids as we look at making sure we're providing the best level of service for where we can get that next unit to. We always are looking at our response times to make sure that we're able to get to the call where we need to go. Our average, looking at our stats last week, we average about 8 minutes, 42 seconds for it. But you have to take into account that some response times are 15 minutes or 20 minutes because it may be a no lights and siren response. Or, you know, that 368 station is on a call already and 369 has to travel across town to Applebee's on 73 or Chili's on 73 in the traffic for it. So we're looking at, you know, I don't want people driving 65, 70 miles an hour with lights and sirens on in traffic going to something that is not, you know, based on the report. That's why we're always trying to get updates to a report. And I would tell you, you're calling 911, give them a lot of information about what's happening for it because we're using that information to guide our responses to the calls for it. But we're always looking at how can we make sure we have a strong response, making sure all the units are getting there safely, and that we're providing a strong service to all the community members for it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Well, I'm aware of that, and those things won't change. That's the way EMS works. However, what you're adding onto this now is more traffic for our ambulances that have to get coming from 73 back into the middle of town. And yes, sometimes they have to come from 369. They come from another town. But now you're putting one on 73 where they have to constantly deal with the traffic.
You have to remember, we're trying to make lemonade out of
I
lemons.
understand that.
So the state has really put a gun to our head and said, you've got to move. So if we don't take into consideration what our professionals are telling us, that's negligent. So if the chief is telling council that Route 73, that blighted area that currently right now is nothing but a trash pit, is a place where we can put a state-of-the-art EMS facility, not raise any taxes, we have to listen.
And within response time.
And within response time.
Did you
Yeah,
I'm sorry about this.
No.
So one of the things we looked at with this location is we understood that 73 is a busy area, but this location would also provide us access out to Church Road for it, which was a big part of this. So we can get to Church Road. The other thing that I know we're working with the developer is New Jersey and a lot of states, but you know, we have what's called an Opticon system. It's a traffic control system. Some of the traffic lights are controlled by this, And what this does is when I pull out, for example, let me use Fellowship and Century Parkway, where they just put those new traffic lights in there. As that ambulance or fire truck is coming off of Church Road onto Fellowship Road, there's activation in the vehicle that changes all the lights red except for our lane of travel for it. So we're working on looking at putting that into that 73 Rogers Walk area so I can activate that as the vehicle leaves. It would shut down, it would make everything red except for that one ray that's going green, and that gets traffic to flow and opens things up for us.
And that was a suggestion that came from the fire department.
For it. So all of our vehicles, all our ambulances are equipped with the Opticon system. We moved to put those in many years ago, as of all the fire department vehicles are. So we were looking at traffic specifically and how we can specifically get to Church Road, which would make it easier too with that heavy volume as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Rafferty, and I'm superintendent for the Mount Laurel Schools, and I'm here tonight with our school business administrator, Mr. Robert Wachter. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to recognize our students. I know it meant so much to them and their families as we walked outside. I could see them beaming. It really means a lot. We're so proud of them, and for you to take time as our town council to recognize them means a lot to us, and I know it makes a world of difference to them. Secondly, we would like to thank you and just give you some positive feedback on the cooperation and the collaboration that we had with the township, specifically the construction office during our work. As you all know, we have done work on all 8 of our schools, and including HVAC work, electrical work, plumbing. We've added 2 additions to our elementary schools, and as a result, we were able to implement full-day kindergarten for our community this year. And we just want everyone to know that you played a big part in that, because we would have never been able to open our schools up on time. A lot of things hinged on us getting the proper permits, done and approved at the right time so that we could open. And your office and township has been wonderful with that. We can't thank you enough. You made all the difference, and we want our community to know. We did open up on time. We're very excited about that. We have full-day kindergarten, but you all played a role in that too, so thank you. We're going to end on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're very appreciative.
Hello, Karen Cohen, 15 Winterberry Court. Now, Laurel. Good evening. I addressed the town council tonight regarding the intent to place digital billboards in Mount Laurel. In 2010, I was asked by Councilman Erwin Edelson to speak against Interstate Media's variance petition to the zoning board to place a billboard on Route 295. I gladly came.
Billboards, plural.
Billboards, thank you. I gladly came and brought some friends, one of whom is here, and we each took our turn denouncing the blight of billboards. In 2013, the zoning board prevailed when, to paraphrase, Chief Judge McKee agreed that billboards are ugly and dangerously distracting and therefore may cause accidents. Several of our council members, currently on our board right now, were serving as our representatives when Judge McKee agreed with our zoning board that fewer billboards means fewer accidents on Route 295. Now I stand here and ask you, the council, was that judge wrong? I'm asking, was he wrong? You want to put a billboard on 295. Was that judge wrong to say that shouldn't be there?
Ms. Cohen, these are.
I'm asking a question. Can I,
You can
you
answer
don't have
questions.
to, you don't have to answer.
Right, it's public comment period. You can
Okay,
make your
so
comments.
no answer, then your silence is deafening on that particular point.
I was on the council when this.
I said these two were.
And that wasn't a matter that came in front of council.
It was
That was
the
a-
zoning board.
It went in front of the zoning board, so council had no authority and no input into that.
That's an interesting comment, thank you. So now I'm asking, was the judge wrong? No, is that why you are throwing open the door to Catalyst experiential advertising and allowing them to erect not 1, but 6 digital billboards, including 2 on Route 295, that will be ugly and dangerously distracting? Another 2 at Route 38 and Mid-Atlantic Drive, and yet another 2 attached to the new EMS station that Catalyst will be building as payment for allowing these digital billboards. And you did it by bypassing our zoning ordinances, which disallow billboards through the use of redevelopment, with the claim that these digital billboards will
improve the vacant land that they will occupy. One reason advertisers like digital billboards so much is that they can collect information such as the number of cars passing, pictures of the cars, even signals from their cell phones. And please don't characterize these billboards as monuments. That is a word co-opted by advertisers. You can look up the definition. You will not find digital billboard in the definition of monument. And also, please don't call them a digital billboard by saying that it's not a rectangle on a stick, as Mr. Morris just said. These are rectangles on 3 sticks. The goal when advertising on large billboards is to draw the eyes to the message and the picture. Distraction is how you achieve that goal. Is that the council's objective here, to distract drivers? Is this really the legacy you want for your time in office? Is this the theme you will run on for your next election? Will you speak proudly of how you brought giant digital billboards to our town? Is this how you raise property values? The supreme irony is that the new EMS station will be busy tending to the victims of vehicle crashes caused by the ugly and distracting digital billboards that were built to pay for that new EMS station. You struck this really poor deal to save taxes on a new EMS station on 73 by forcing ugly and distracting billboards on Mount Laurel for 30 years. But Catalyst struck a really good deal when it found its way into Mount Laurel. Thank you.
My name is George Brill, and I live at 127A Joseph Road. The other day in the mail, I received a missive from Triad Associates, where they claim that they are in partnership with Mount Laurel to bring in low and moderate income families by tempting landlords with a nice payout in the beginning. And I want to know, is Mount Laurel supporting this?
It's part of our market to affordable, which is set by our court order for COA housing. What they do is the company works for us and they contact certain, they look to purchase where we would take somebody from our COA waiting list and they would move into the location.
I have to tell you something, that I think this is a direct assault on my neighborhood. The worst neighborhood in Mount Laurel, even the township acknowledges that.
That was not
This
the
is-
only neighborhood
this
that
is-
received.
We don't have enough low income and moderate income people living in there. Turn it into a garbage dump. You want to turn it into a real ghetto. This program is pointed right at Chaucer Road, Chaucer Court. No doubt about it. I will fight this.
Bonnie Hosniakowski, 162 Memorial Lane, and I wasn't planning on speaking today, but I have a couple questions. First of all, I want to thank you all. I am on the board. You see me. You've all seen me through the years. There's 4 of us on our board on Memorial Lane. We have 23 homes. We're self-managed, and we try to take care of it all by ourselves so we don't have to pay a management company and raise our association dues. We split our meetings. There's 4 of us. I guess I've missed quite a bit because I've come to this meeting. I didn't know about the billboards. I don't know that I object to them. I really didn't know anything about it. I'm trying to dissect everything. Where will they be? They're on 295, which that doesn't bother me, unlike other people. I'm not distracted by that. I don't know about a grandchild, but I personally am not. You said Mid-Atlantic and 38, okay, and where's the other?
You know, 73 across from Rogers Walk.
Oh,
I don't know where Rogers Walk is. Where is
The
that?
Wawa.
The Wawa, okay.
So there'll be an
Okay.
EMS building, there'll be an EMS
Right.
building
So,
on the side.
You know, I'm listening to, I don't want my taxes to go up. I'm already paying almost $12,000 a year in taxes. I really don't want my taxes to go up. If this is making lemons from lemonade, then, you know, we gotta really all think about this. I can barely afford to live in my house. I can afford my mortgage payment, but my taxes are getting out of control. I definitely don't want that. As far as the 1,000 other houses that are coming in, I didn't know about that either. And I live on Memorial Lane. I have to come up Memorial Lane to Masonville Road and either make a left, which believe me, between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 and 6 p.m., I can really only turn right out of my street. And then it's a quick, I have to be really careful because the gentleman who comes almost every time I come that lives on that corner, that poor guy, what has happened to that intersection is unbelievable.
So currently what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to get money from the state to make normal entrance and exit ramps off
Right.
of 38 and 295. Don't know if that'll be the case cracker,
Right.
but it can't hurt. And what we're trying to do as well is that if we can alleviate any of that traffic that comes up and goes up Masonville and they use Creek Road as their northbound 295 entrance,
Right.
That's what
exactly
we want
right.
to do. So, to your point, what's happening in Mount Laurel is, we're fulfilling our affordable housing obligation. We take a backseat to nobody in this state. We are doing our job. But the issue becomes the developers don't make any money on the affordable houses. So the state allows them to manufacture marketable housing.
Is that the 1,000 homes that
And that's
are
where it
coming?
comes in from. Yeah,
And
correct.
where are they gonna be built?
So Marne Highway, currently right now off of Marne Highway,
Yeah.
and then also by Lakeside Collision, like up.
Lakeside Collision
Oh,
to
yes,
Hartford Road.
okay,
And
so
they're gonna buffer up
between
against-
after Larchmont and before,
Hartford.
whatever that
They're gonna
is.
buffer up to the turnpike.
Hartford Road. They're
And
gonna
then-
buffer up to the turnpike?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we're currently right now, Fostertown, Route 38 area, that's designated now as well.
right.
So.
Well, that won't affect my street as far as getting out. But I do want to say that when Cynthia Astrom was here, our president, she brought it up about the people coming off of 295 and making that turn, and they don't stop, they continue to go.
So the chief of police is here today. Ramblewood Parkway, we were having a lot of problems with Ramblewood Parkway, the speed. And the chief, we put the hammer down. And currently right now, if you go up Ramblewood Parkway, you're going 25 miles an hour. And our police force did an outstanding job making that happen. They're currently right now doing the same thing at Masonville Road. We're
Well,
trying
I wanna
to
tell
slow
you-
that down.
I want to tell you that she brought it up at the meeting. She came off of 295 and she made the right onto Masonville Road. She counted 1, 2, 3, and she turned, and the police officer came after her, stopped her, and he said, "Do you know what you did?" And she said, "I counted to 3." And he said to her, "But you didn't count to 3. You needed to count to 5." And she said, "Well, this is interesting because the reason you're here is because of me." And she got a ticket.
Well, count to 5.
Count to 5. That's my best advice, is count to 5, everybody. And the other thing I want to say is that, through the years of me coming, many of your faces have changed. Meredith, you've been here for a very long time, you take a lot of abuse. Your face doesn't change, except for maternity leave. Your face doesn't change for those people that don't know you. So I want to thank you all. Being on a board of a little tiny board is, nothing compared to what you do. So I know it's hard. There's no way to please everybody. We all, it's just like politics. We went through this at one of the meetings before that I was at. It's nobody's going to be happy. I understand both sides of the coin. And I guess you have to make the right decision for us, whatever it is, on our behalf. But I definitely don't want my taxes raised. I mean, I'm going to have to move anyway, whether it's a good neighborhood, bad neighborhood, because it's just getting out of hand. It really is. So, anyway, that's it. I'll sign my name.
Back. Mayor Cohen, do you want to report? I wanted to ask a question about Mount Laurel, the population. We are a town of about 42,000 people, and I hear people complaining, I just heard some people complaining about the lower income housing, and that'll bring more traffic. How many people are we when it's a work day, between like 8 and 5 in the afternoon? About how many people are we? Over 100,000 people, okay? Bill Geiger has done a great job of bringing
really done a great job of bringing businesses and increasing ratables in Mount Laurel, but that also contributes very much to traffic. I'd really like a distinction made a little bit more often. You are in a great position to be leaders on this, that the lower income housing is not the reason we have all this traffic. It's because we've done such a great job of bringing businesses into Mount Laurel, which is also keeping the property taxes down.
You said that.
Really?
Right, so having over 100,000 people in the town will be what causes the traffic. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple questions. I've been doing a lot of research.
Dorothy, name and address.
Oh, sorry. Dorothy Manstalker, 117 Indigo Drive. I've been doing some research on the internet and also the redevelopment plan, 1985. I'd like to ask if, isn't a community meeting required for all redevelopment projects to get inputs from the public before proceeding? I think that'd be a great idea. Just have a special meeting.
We filed the procedure through
Get
the
all the
statute.
people, get all
There
the
were two
people in
public
the town, come, you can voice it, we can voice our opinion on it. You never asked us. You
Yeah,
never
we did
asked
do
us
that.
anything.
There were two public hearings.
Well, you want to call it a public hearing, it was a council meeting.
They were properly advertised.
It was
as public
a council meeting. It
It was a
was
council
not
meeting, and
a
it was a planning board
community
meeting.
meeting to explain this project.
There was.
It was
at the
a
planning-
council meeting.
It was a planning board meeting too.
Oh, I know that.
On the
That's
redevelopment
typical.
and on the redevelopment plan and on the application.
Okay, you didn't hear my question.
I
So
did. but that's-
I'll pass. I have a better solution, and it would have saved you a lot of time and effort. Put the ambulance in the fire station. It won't cost you anything.
Our chief can explain to you why that's not an option.
Oh, I didn't hear this.
So-
I'm from Cherry Hill. I come from a family of 3 generations of firefighters in the NC. They've always been together in the same building.
Well-
You now have separate buildings. For EMS, fire, it's expensive for the town.
I understand that. The reason,
Chief, closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. The reason the 363 headquarters doesn't have the accommodations that would be able to move everything that we have from the Church Street station into that location for it. It becomes a logistics problem with it. That's not to say that as we go through this that we don't have a vehicle stationed there or staged there at times, depending on how we see call responses and things like that for it. Some departments are together. Cherry Hill is a department where the fire and EMS is under the same department.
And Evesham.
Evesham is a fire-based EMS service as well. Other departments aren't necessarily like that. You know, Mount Laurel is not fire-based. Morristown is not fire-based. You know, so a lot of municipalities are not a fire-based EMS system for it. We're divided with 2 different agencies for it. We do share a station with them right now at Church Road by Lifetime Fitness. With that, but again, you know, it's a logistics area where we're able to put people at. And just a good example of this, headquarters. If we put headquarters in there, we'd have to do building there because there are no female locker rooms, no female bunk rooms. We'd have to have all those established separate because the fire department does not have any female staff. We have
Do they
female
own
staff.
ground right next to it? There's wooded area.
I do not know who owns that.
Who owns the ground? Well, I think it was the township that knocked down that house.
I don't,
on
I'll
Elbow.
pull it, we can pull it off, send it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, there's ground there, there's township ground right near Elbow Lane Fire.
I don't think it's, Jerry can
I
pull it
don't
off.
think you look at that. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. It's all about due diligence. Due diligence is the care that a responsible person exercises to avoid harm to other persons or their property. Due diligence is also refers to the research done before entering into an agreement or a financial transaction with another party. I watched the last council meeting, Mr. Morris, and you said the ambulance station was built in 1982. By the way, I do like the fact that you have the videos. And I think it's something that should be advertised in the Mount Laurel Sun to get more people to look. If they don't read the minutes, this is a good way to let people know what's going on. The ambulance station was not built in 1982. I did an Oprah, I went to the township, pulled all the zoning records, pulled all the minutes of the council meeting, stood there for an hour and a half, went through all of them. It wasn't 1982. It was 1988.
It was.
It was. You said 82.
I said about, but okay. You're correct.
Right. You said, I'm not sure the land was actually Green Acres, but at some point it got classified as Green Acres. You also said, I'm not sure if the building came before the classification. Due diligence. Knowing the subject of the meeting with the state before the November meeting, did you do a research on the subject before the meeting, and did you explain to the state that it was a data entry error?
Yes.
You did explain it to them as a data entry error.
Yes.
What was their response?
We don't care.
Yes,
Pardon?
they don't care.
The response was, we don't care.
And under the state law, we still owe diversion, and we need to either vacate the building or do the diversion. And that was from their attorney and from a Green Acres supervisor.
It's in the stewardship program.
They have a process, it's called the amendment request.
Yes, we
Did
made
you
that.
send in an amendment request?
We made that request in person to them at that meeting.
Denied.
Why didn't you say that at all these meetings? I mean, you had me going through all kinds of township records for the past 2 weeks. Why didn't you say that?
It's the first time you asked me the question, and I answered.
Oh, you are something. You're really something.
Okay.
Oh, unbelievable. You could have said that. You would have saved me about 2 weeks of homework.
And you just asked the question 30 seconds ago. I answered. I don't know what to say.
Okay. Meredith, who at the township data enters lots and lots on the Rossi?
On the Rossi list, it's the open space engineer.
Who is that?
Currently, it's Bach Associates, but this did not occur under them. From my understanding, this happened years ago under an engineering firm. I don't have their name, but they're out of business. It was,
Short Palmer.
yeah,
Short of Palmer was the engineer.
they're not in business.
They're not in business anymore? So you outsource the data entry onto the Rossi?
It falls under the open space engineer. Has to certifies it with the township and sends it to Green Acres.
I have to say, the record keeping is really bad. If you take a look at the Rossi, then do you know what this is?
That's the state's.
The state's
Yeah.
list is out of date. It's
But
been out of date
Who,
for
who,
20 years.
who enters this?
That would
You
be
told
covered
me
by the
it's
state of New
down.
Jersey.
You don't enter it on the
You
state
told me
website.
it was the township that entered this.
Alright?
No, that's on the state,
That's the state website.
Yeah.
The Rossi list, if you wanna see the township's Rossi list that's performed by our engineer, you can come in and I can give you a copy of that in the clerk's office.
Why isn't that available online?
I believe it might be online. Yeah, it's basic, I can put it online for you
Yeah, I
if it's not.
found it.
I'll put it online for you.
But let me ask you, I downloaded this from
I
the
understand,
state.
but the state is
website.
behind that. You have to contact the state and ask the state officials why every a lot of their website is outdated and they don't update it. That would be a question for the state. We have no control over what the state puts on their website.
So all these old block numbers,
Mhm.
this goes back to 1982, it's still on their website. You converted in 1982 to a different block and lot for everything.
Mhm.
It's still on here.
That doesn't.
They never converted.
Dorothy, I wanna be honest with you, that doesn't surprise me with the state.
Well,
I
it says,
can't control if the state doesn't update their website.
Well,
I mean,
it also
all
says
the
in here,
information
wait a
has
minute.
been sent to them and they've received it and they have.
it says it's up to the township to make sure that this is correct. It says it right at the
So
bottom,
what
it's
they ask the
explained on the
township to
bottom.
do is send the Rossi list, we send the Rossi list, it's been sent to them, but I can't physically change it, I can't go into the state's website and send, all I can
Okay.
do is provide them with the information.
Block 238, no name. Block 274, no name. 276, Green Acres Park. It's Laurel Acres Park. How did they get Green Acres Park? 602, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, Mount Laurel Acquisition Plan. 86, Municipal Complex. 901, Mount Laurel Acquisition Plan. 904, Mount Laurel Acquisition Plan.
Right, I understand, I'm not surprised that the state's website's out of date. All I can tell you is they have received our Rossi list and they have acknowledged that they have it. I cannot control them going on the state's
Okay.
website and changing the
This
information.
is your website, or this is your computer.
That's the
Right.
assessor's, yes.
Here's the, this is for 1051 South Church.
Mhm.
Block 1003, lot 102.
Mhm.
Prior block, there's nothing in there.
Mhm.
You can't get back to 276.
Mhm.
All right? The lot number's not on there. The page, the book and the page number of the deed, right? When you bought that from the, or no, you were donated that land from the school board. Nothing's in here. It would have been so easy to pull up the deed if you inputted it in there.
I have to talk
Paperwork,
to Dennis
there
the
is
clerk,
nothing.
I have to ask Dennis the clerk why it does not, why it's not in there.
Yeah, the conversion would have been very easy. When you went from, back in 19, and this
That
isn't
might
your
not-
fault,
right.
no, this isn't your fault, you weren't here. I'm not blaming you for
Then
that.
thank you for acknowledging.
All I'm just
that.
saying, if the data is not entered correctly,
Right, and Dennis the clerk wasn't here when it happened either, so whoever the assessor was at the time
I
when it
understand
changed.
Dennis wasn't here either.
Yeah,
He
I
was
mean, so,
Never mind. All right, I'm sorry, I wasted 2 weeks' time figuring out somebody data entered the wrong lot and block on the Rossi. That's what started this whole thing. So because the
and
data
and
entry,
like I said, I just got back last Monday from.
because the
maternity
data
leave last
entry
noon.
person
I
who
will
you
talk.
outsourced to put the wrong block and lot in the Rossi,
Once you
which
put,
was an error, a data entry
once
error.
you put,
You're now saying you have to get a new ambulance?
yes,
We're not
A new
saying,
ambulance building?
Dorothy, we're not saying it, the state's saying it.
once something's on
That
the
doesn't make
Rossi
sense.
list,
No,
it
it
goes
doesn't.
to the
Yeah,
state and the state
exactly.
certifies it. There's no way to remove it from the Rossi list without doing a diversion.
I'd like to see the letter you sent.
We talked to them.
You know what would be nice?
We
I'd
met
like
with
to see
their
the letter
attorney.
you sent to them if they refused.
What would be nice is if the state said,
I can't-
no harm, no
I
foul.
can do a,
Mr. Mayor, one second.
Oprah on
You
that.
can't Oprah a conversation that occurred in November.
I'm not talking about the
There
conversation.
was no letter. I told
No,
you,
you
we
just
had a
said-
face-to-face
I
conversation.
asked you if you did an amendment.
Yeah, and I
and you said
said, we
yes.
had a face-to-face conversation with them,
No.
and they rejected it.
No. That's not what you said.
But we have it on tape, so you can watch it later to
Yeah.
confirm.
I will. All right, listen, I'm sorry. If you had said something maybe 4 meetings ago, I wouldn't be here tonight.
My name is George Brill, and I live at 127A Joseph Road.
That's good.
2 years ago, the township came in and tore up Joseph Road and put a new road down, new asphalt. As I ride up and down the street, now we're getting the black line in the middle of the road, which is the precursor to what I call the Mount Laurel groove. This can be best demonstrated by riding on Hartford Road between Union Mill and 38th, or Chaucer Road, or Larchmont Boulevard, or any other name, half a dozen named streets that you can in the township. And I'd like to know, are we getting these cheap roads because we're paying a cheap price? Or are we getting these cheap roads and we're paying for something good?
We have to follow the state law. We have to go out to bid when we pave roads, and we have to go with the lowest bidder. State law.
You know the groove is because they don't put down enough asphalt.
Well, you're lucky Jerry Masha, the Municipal Services Director, is here tonight. He'll come out and take a look at it tomorrow.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Peter Vilazarian, I live at 51 Horseshoe Drive. Can you hear me on this thing in Mount Laurel? I can pick this up, right? Is that right? Okay. This is in the interest of transparency or perhaps lack of transparency. As you all know from newspaper reports and from reports, New Jersey has a number of water problems. Okay, Newark, for example, is the biggest and most publicized problem with lead in its water, and we know the serious issues that are associated with that. We also know that other towns, like Moorestown, has a water problem, which may be separate from lead. I'm not sure, but it has a water problem it's dealing with. And also, I believe there's another town, Bordentown, also has a water problem, and it may be lead. So in the interest of transparency or lack thereof, first question to the council or to the city manager or to the services person, there was the state passed a Water Accountability Act, a Water Quality Accountability Act, which required every town to do an assessment of its water and to submit that report to the state. First question, has Mount Laurel completed that water quality accountability?
You'd have to contact the MUA. They're a separate entity than the township. They don't fall under us.
They don't fall under you at all?
No, not at all. They're a separate entity. You'd have to contact them. They have their own board, and I believe they meet.
Okay.
Does anybody know when they meet?
Third Wednesday, third Thursday?
Third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
They
But they're
also
a
have an
separate entity
updated,
than
they
us.
also have an updated report on their website as
Yeah,
well.
they do, they post their
They
report.
post that report on the MUA website as well.
I looked for that report last, like Friday,
Yeah.
and I didn't find it.
Yeah,
I did not find that report, and I mean, is the Mount Laurel Township responsible for the Mount Laurel website, or does each entity do its own thing?
Each entity does their own thing. Pam Carolyn's the administrator over at the MUA.
Yeah.
You can stop in, talk with her, and she can even provide you with a copy of the report.
Okay, all right. Do you know if she submitted the report?
Yes.
Do you even know that?
If Pam
Yes.
had a report to do, she did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is important. I mean, we in the town, okay, I did find out on the website, there are 18,000 customers. Okay?
Right.
There are 18,000 customers that they have. But not having silence on this is not acceptable. All right? It's not acceptable that we just don't know what the problem is. Let's take lead, for example. I know this town has mostly been developed, so maybe lead may not be as much of a problem as it is in Newark. But I'm sure there are a lot of old areas where there are lead service lines in the streets and lead service lines in the house. And the question, if it's true, we don't have a problem, we're not like Moorestown, we should know about that. And it should be front and center on the website. These are serious problems, man, that they're saying is existing in the state and in a lot of communities.
I'm pretty sure also, correct me if I'm wrong, that they include the results of these in our water bill.
Well, sometimes I don't know that it's to the detail that they would want. I didn't see, I get water bills every month.
Results of, they do these tests.
No, it's not just the water.
Yeah.
The water may be fine,
Mhm.
but I would like to know, for example, what percent, how many of these 18,000 customers have lead service lines in them? I'm sure the town's over 100 years old, there are some in the town. The question is, where do they exist, and, you know, and maybe they're fine. Maybe there isn't a problem with them because they have chemicals to handle it.
That's what we're saying, it's a completely different board.
I understand, but can you at least, you know, alert them to put this information there, and to also make like a summary of information saying,
I think it is on their website, but they have a separate website.
maybe it's buried in, you
They're
know,
not in-
report number, you
I
know.
think it's right on the front page, the first page of the Mount Laurel MUA website. They have their own website.
I know they have their own website, I'd like to know, but I'd like to know some more information
Sure.
about what it is. Now, is this guy, are you
Address the council, sir.
are you part of these services?
I'm not part of the MUA.
Okay.
The one here is part of
If
the
you leave your
MUA.
name and number with me, I'll have Pam, who's the administrator of the MUA, give you a call.
Okay, I could do that, or I could, is she there every day? Is
She is, she's there Monday through Friday.
All right, so maybe I'll just stop by or something.
Absolutely.
All right, but I think it ought to be, the town, given that situation, and we may have no problem at all, but we may only have minor problems, it'd be nice to know. Water is an important aspect of what a town needs, and needs to regulate. Thank you.
Patricia Bohinski, 41 Broadacre Drive. Patricia Bohinski, 41 Broadacre Drive. I came because I was concerned about the billboards, the digital billboards. If you could clarify, I know this was said before, but they're going to be at Route 73 and Rogers Walk, Route 38 and Mid-Atlantic Drive, and the third,
295.
sorry,
And like Pleasant Avenue.
It's right about at mile marker 38 and a half. About a mile and a half before the exit.
thank you.
It's approximate. Don't quote me on that. Somewhere between 82 and 88.
So I have concerns because I spoke 10 years ago. I thought it was a planning board. I understand it's a zoning board. It was 10 years ago against digital billboards. Is there any information online? You said you had a video presented to you. Is that available to see?
Yeah, I believe you have the,
Yeah, the planning board has that.
yeah, Tricia, can get it to them. There's little sticks, they have an entire presentation.
And so I can go online and get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta go to the planning board, you gotta go to Trish, Trish will hand it to you. Right, Trish?
Well, I
The
don't need a
presentation
copy. I
online.
just want to see.
No, I'm sorry, the presentation isn't online, but if you come in, you can get the actual presentation that was on the stick, so, you gotta talk to the planning board secretary, Trish.
So that's the main reason here. I think they're distracted and I'm concerned about it. On Route 73, there's already, I think, a lot of traffic. At times, it's like a parking lot. You're trapped, and sometimes you go nowhere. Reminds me of this Fuqua sometimes. One section of 73 where you just can't move, and you're sitting there. And I actually try and avoid 73 and take the back roads.
The good news is the state supposedly will be starting 73 Church Road reclamation, where we'll be able to go over it, and that might move that traffic a little faster, for sure.
Okay.
Stare down, but that's probably gonna start another 4 years.
2026.
Okay, thank you. I think that's, oh, sorry. So you had said with asphalt, you have to go for 3 bids. Was that done with this? Where, was there a requirement to request competitive bids for these billboards?
There's no requirement, and two different laws. One's the local public contracts law, and there's the redevelopment law. Two
One's a
different-
public contract law and one's a,
The redevelopment law.
it's coming under,
This project came under the redevelopment law.
okay. And just out of curiosity, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, when they say rescue vehicles, emergency vehicles are coming through and they're stopping the lights so that they can get through, which is great. Then what do they do about the traffic that's sitting there? Is there something done to address the traffic that's sitting on 73?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it just goes back to its regular cycle. The chief made that more information.
It changes that light green in the direction that we're traveling,
Sure.
usually for one cycle to get vehicles to move
Sure.
for it, and then it just cycles right back to its normal system. There's nothing that has to be done. It's reading that sensor, and once that sensor is out of range, it just cycles back. Yes, ma'am.
And I try and pay attention, and I wasn't aware of this until a friend told me about it, and then a neighbor told me about it. So, thank you for telling me.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to come to the microphone, please do. I see nobody come to the microphone. I'm going to close the public participation part. Before we go to comments from council, I'd like to invite the chief of police to come up and share some thoughts.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Reedner. I am the Chief of Police for Mount Laurel. Thank you, Council, Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I've been a police officer here in Mount Laurel for 23 years. I've been a police chief for the past 2. And I asked to come tonight to speak just about what was said about the police department during the last council meeting, because it upset me personally, and also the members of my department, where some of the people that came up during the public portion of the meeting were saying that the police department doesn't care. They don't respond to people's complaints, and we don't patrol the township. And I can tell you nothing could be further from the truth. Our department does patrol. We're very proud of the job that we do in this town. And everybody that spoke that night had been dealing with the police department for a long time. One gentleman we've been dealing with for decades now. And we're never going to solve his problem because we're not really quite sure what his problem is. But the fact of the matter is that we address every single problem that comes to us. If somebody calls the police, we come. We'll do the best we can within the scope of our job as law enforcement to deal with the problem that's presented to us. One person had a landlord-tenant issue, and the police department will try to mitigate those issues, but that's actually outside of our scope. Landlord-tenant issues are handled by civil law, and police departments don't enforce civil law. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we do address problems, and we do care about this community. And since I've been the chief of police, we've really increased the amount of public outreach exponentially. We have created a bureau of, basically a community outreach bureau. And that person's job specifically is to increase our interaction with the community. And we've done many events of like coffee with a cop, pizza with a cop, ice cream with a cop, but all those meant to interact with the community, build those bridges, and make sure that everybody understands what we do and what we're there to help. Just last week, we started our first Citizens Police Academy, and again, it's to build those bridges. So when they're saying that we don't care, again, furthest thing from the truth, and we address every issue that's brought to us. The one thing that actually Chief had said earlier is when you do call 911, make sure you're telling them what the problem is. One person had complained that they had no way of, or we weren't responding to the complaint within their community or their neighborhood, but that person actually wasn't telling us what the problem was. They just kept saying, there's a problem. Well, you need to tell us what it is. And you can remain anonymous if you have to. There's ways to report those things to us without divulging your name or where you live, so there's no retribution, or that, because that's what this person's alleged fear was. So I implore you, if there's a problem in your neighborhood, call the police. You can remain anonymous, like I said. Just give as much information as you possibly can, because if that whatever activity is happening stops before we get there, maybe we can or intercept them before they leave, things like that. But please call when it's happening. So that's the see something, say something that we've all been taught. And that's, again, I appreciate everybody allowing me to come here and speak about what was said last week. And I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you. From here, we'll go with comments by council. Meredith? Township manager, sorry.
I do not have any comments.
Council?
On the brief executive session, I'm not expecting any
So the individuals that came forward and spoke about these signs, I'm again reiterating that I understand completely, and in your opinion is not, it's valid. Those concerns are valid, they're absolutely valid. And given the circumstance and the options that were presented to me, I made the decision in which I thought was best for the entire township. And but it is important to us that we do hear from residents, and regardless of even if it's disagreeing with us and what our decision is, I do appreciate hearing from you, and thank you again for coming forward. Thank you, Chief, for explaining a little bit further in depth about last meeting as well, because I left that last meeting upset by some of the same comments. Again, valid opinions and important to hear. And thank you, Chief Stringfellow, for coming forward also and explaining the EMS decision to put that on 73. Other than that, that is it, and no more comments.
Councilman Nelson?
Thank you, Chief Jerry, for coming. Chief Calucci, thanks for coming. I was a member of the zoning board, as Karen stated, when we fought the billboards on 295. And it was billboards. They wanted to go up and down 295 in our township. We had a good lawyer. We had a good board. It took a couple of years with the court battle, but we won. And now, right after we won, West Hampton went and did it. You go north on 295, as soon as you leave Mount Laurel, you're in billboard land. Further up, when you get into the Trenton area, you're in more billboard land. If you go on 95 in Philly, from Woodhaven into Center City, it's like every 50 feet. You have a billboard, some are static, some are digital. First thing when this came to us, I asked manager and council, are we opening up Pandora's box? Are we going to be liable, for the 295 people to come back? We didn't need to do that. They could have come back at any time to put billboards back on 295. We did this as a redevelopment and as a cost saving to the township. In my mind, you're not going to agree with me, these are almost eye level. You're not going to be looking up 50 feet to read the billboard. You're going to be looking straight ahead at the billboard, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be 50 feet in the air. It's going to be almost eye level. Yes, it will change. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're not going to run all night.
Correct.
They're going to be turned off at night. So this is only a daytime thing with that. And again, every 6% of the advertising will be us. On the advertising a fall festival, advertising a school function, advertising a fire function, a police function, a 5K race, we'll get free advertising on that. And churches, nonprofits can do the same thing. The best part, as Councilman Stegler said, the money. I'm sorry, but that's what's driving us here, the saving of the money. The state, we couldn't fight it. We tried to. But again, it comes back to money, dollars and cents. Chief Stringfellow is getting a state-of-the-art, double the size building. You're doubling the amount of space you have for ambulances, correct? Yeah. Couldn't ask for anything more. Yeah. We also had a great shredding event this past Saturday. We loaded up 2 trucks again. 2 26-foot grinders going 3 hours. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And we do it again in April, right after tax season. And thank God it was cold in the morning, but by noon the sun came out. Our next event, Santa Claus?
Yes. There's the flu shot clinic also too, which is on October 23rd at EMS. There'll be a drive-through pod exercise, so all are welcome to come and get a flu shot. And that's in the morning, so that's our next event.
We know we're not going to make everybody happy. Thank you for coming, and hope to see you next time.
I'd just like to thank our first responder chiefs, and Jerry for coming out tonight. Chief Stringfellow, Chief Colucci, and Chief Friedner, thank you. Thank you for your comments, Chief Friedner. You know, after the meeting, I know, I knew you were upset when I was getting emailed, well, Counselor was getting emailed GPS reports of where the cars are all the time. So I appreciate your comments. I want you to know that the opinions of a few are not the opinions of the many in Mount Laurel. Everyone I talk to, everyone that has had an interaction with your officers, same with our EMTs and our fire department, they speak very, very highly of all of our emergency services, and they tell us what a wonderful job they did in circumstances that, you know, aren't ideal. So my hat's off to you. I want you to know that the opinions that were voiced at the last meeting is not my opinion. Other than that, I guess that's it for this evening. We're gonna have closed, right? That's all I got. So have a nice evening.
Chief Colucci, thanks for coming out tonight. Chief Friedner, thanks for your words. Sincerely appreciated. I echo pretty much everything, or I echo everything that Deputy Mayor Bobo just stated. Chief Stringfellow, thank you so much. Thanks for doing the heavy lifting here. You're going to get an EMS station here that's going to be state of the art. That, quite frankly, is in a part of town that actually needs that type of strong presence for the town and for that area. So sincerely, thank you for what you did tonight. Thank you for what you did helping us walk through this process. You really deserve everything we get here right now. So I hope you enjoy the facility. Once again, this is a situation where the town was forced to make lemonade out of lemons. Since the state put a gun to our head, and this was an opportunity that we found, that we felt could save the town from raising taxes and get ourselves a state-of-the-art facility. Here's the thing, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you never know, these signs might be out of fashion. There might be some new technology that comes down the road where these are no longer needed. But guess what? We still have an EMS building. So these are the things that we need as council, these decisions we have to make that aren't necessarily easy, but when our hands forced, we got to come up with the best thing we can. So we're turning lemons into lemonade. With that said, thanks again, Chief, and Jerry. Thank you for coming out tonight. And thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Diane, thanks, and Ray, thanks for coming out. Everybody, we're going to go into close, so we'll be coming out. No decisions are going to be made. So may I have a motion for resolution? I'm sorry, 19R 2001.
Resolution authorizing closed session in the Township of Mount Laurel to discuss pending or anticipated litigation, contract negotiations, and/or personnel matters.
May I have a motion?
No motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Edelson?
Aye.
Councilman Pritchett? Councilman Staglitt? Deputy Mayor Bobo? Mayor Cole?
Aye, so moved. All right, folks, we're not making any decisions. If you could